Just 1 second.
Okay.
You don't have to, until it's here. She's back again. Oh, that's got it. Open it or click on it. And just close it. Okay, you're all set to start.
Okay,
And
I did it gently
don't know
there.
where she's going.
No, no, smash that.
Participants on there.
Call to meeting, call to order our meeting of the Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department, June 30th, 5 o'clock. Roll call, Director Canales.
Here.
Director Kelly is absent. Director Gibbs is here. Director Talon.
Here.
Director Bob.
Here.
Director Moore.
Here.
Director Rosenquist.
Here.
Manager Tracy is here. And CFO Kluge
Is that here?
is not. Okay, item number 1 on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion.
Oh, okay. Motion by Director Rosenquist and second by Director Canales. Roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
It's not here. Director Gibbs is yes. Director Talon?
Yes.
Director Bob?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Rosenquist? All
Yes.
right, so that is adopted. Item number 2, the financial report presented by MLD Manager Bill Tracy. Internal report of financial standings as of May 22nd.
You can see from the chart, I don't know if you have it with you there, but May was a good month for us in revenue. Mainly thanks to the winter being so cold. A lot of electricity got used January, February, March, and April of this year. I mean, December, January, February, March. So our revenue was good in May. Our expenses were about $1.5 million less than what the revenue we took in.
Is that typical for May?
It depends on the winter.
We did have a very warm May.
Yes, but the PPAC, as you recall, is from 2 months back.
Mhm.
So there's a lag in there. So
Oh,
that
okay.
counts it. Because the May, you won't see those numbers until July. 2 months later. The only other thing I got is on the finance is the Rex and Zex, they continue to climb. We have so far been billed through the 1st of June, $1,116,000 for Zex, and we're approaching 400,000 for Rex. And those numbers are going to just continue to climb. We will probably be close to a little over $2.5 million for Zex by the end of the year, and Rex will be close probably to $1 million.
And how does that compare to like last year at this time?
It's increasing.
Increasing?
Yes, and there's going to be more additions to this by the state as time goes on. NYSERDA is in the process of awarding Tier 4 recs, which are for solar and wind projects down around New York City, Long Island, Westchester County. Once those get built, the state will be subsidizing those, so they will get added to everybody's bill in state. And probably about 2 years from now, when the ocean wind farms are built, that will get added as well, because that's being subsidized. So, unfortunately, it's just going to keep going up over time as they convert from fossil fuels to wind and solar.
Hey, Bill, does everyone in the state pay that?
Everybody in the state pays it. There's no exceptions. It has been tried legally. Well, it was done by the mayor and he bypassed the legislature in 2017 to enact it. The legislature had put it in the next year's bill to kill it. But when they found out, the governor told them he would veto the bill. They didn't have the override capability in the Senate or the Assembly, so they dropped it. People have taken it to court, and basically it's been upheld in courts. Even federal court was upheld. It's not going away anytime soon.
What exactly are zero energy credits? I don't know if I understand that very well.
Well, in reality, it's a tax,
Oh,
but they
okay.
can't call it a tax because it was not approved by the legislature. So they came up with the title credits. I mean, it's developed through the NYSERDA, working with the Public Service Commission and the Governor's Office.
So it's a fee,
It's a fee.
but
What it is for them to generate funds so they can subsidize the construction projects for solar and wind projects. And pay subsidies to the people that are running those projects.
and how does that differ from RECs, the renewable energy credits? Are they
Well,
basically
okay,
the same kind of idea?
okay. RECs is the wind and solar. The ZECs is to pay for keeping 4 nuclear power plants in western New York online. The owner of those plants said he was going to shut them down because he was losing money. Governor Cole negotiated a deal with him that the state would make up the difference, so he broke even. Basically, the state did that because they needed the nuclear power plants to help them get their greenhouse gas emissions under control and get them lowered. So that's why they're kept online. And that will continue growing. Projections show, at least for Plattsburgh, by 2030, we will probably be in the region of $4 million a year in payments to the state. So it's going up every year.
In 2030,
2030.
in 2030,
Right.
that's not
The
that
agreement
far.
right now is in 2030. I don't know if it's going to be extended beyond that.
How much did you say again? How much? 2030 is gonna be,
It would be close to $4 million
$4 million.
that ratepayers in the city of Plattsburgh will have to pay in the cost of this.
ow. Okay,
They call it socialized electricity. Everybody pays for it. Even though you may not have direct benefit, your benefit is clean air. That's what the explanation is.
I see. Okay.
Unless there's any questions, that's all I have for credentials.
Okay, be it resolved, financial report as read is hereby ordered, received, placed on file among public records in the MLD office. Can I get a first?
Motion.
By Canales and second by Director Bob. Roll call, Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs is yes, Director Talon? Director Bob?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 3, departmental reports for work in progress, IEEP, and anything else.
Work in progress, I have a long 1-page list there. Unless there's any questions, I'm not gonna sit here and read it.
Is that in our packet, Bill?
That was in your packet. That was in the supplemental information.
Oh, yes, it was. It was. It's just not in front of me.
I leave the agenda out, but everything else is put into that. The IEP project, for the most part, they're completed. We have 2 items for the city that are in progress still. That's installing heat pump mini splits in City Hall here. So several of the offices, and installing LED lighting at the city police station, changing up the lighting down there, making it more energy efficient.
So installing LEDs,
Yes.
yeah. Is that clearly explained in a document in our meeting documents? I don't have access to the
Well, list of projects.
I'm not.
because as part of the work we're doing for the climate smart work, we just want to make sure that we have access to any of the documentation of the work that's being done to make sure, if we're eligible to get credited for the work. Okay, that's what I just want to make sure we have that.
I don't think, well, I don't know.
Well, the LED
The NYSERDA program, no, it won't be. I don't know about any other program.
Yeah, there's LED lighting.
It's street lighting.
Yeah, so I just,
That's already done.
yeah.
We've maxed that out already.
All right.
That was for the ornamental lights and for the regular street
And
lights.
I believe that was also accounted for it in that report, in our reporting for those credits.
Okay.
Yeah. But we may want to double check. And when we went through that list, I don't know how applicable internal LED lights or office LED lights were to these programs.
Yeah, you have to do the drop down menu and really take a
Yeah.
look. And I I haven't done that yet, but,
We knew about we knew about the streetlights, that being credited towards the program, we just didn't know about what was other things.
I'll take a look at it. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Tracy? No? Okay. Item number 4, bid awards. Can I get a motion and a second to discuss for A, B, and C? Director Canales, second by Director Rosenquist. Okay, so take it away. Anything you want to tell us about these items, the bid awards?
The line truck is replacing another truck that's 18 years old. It is a hybrid, which means the hydraulic functions on it will be battery operated. The engine is still diesel, but rather than running the diesel engine all day long, like we have to with normal utility trucks, once we get to the site, we could shut it down and we're on battery power then. And it's a lot quieter and less diesel, no diesel fumes, less pollution.
Okay,
Delivery of the truck will be about 2 years. And that's because of the problems with the supply chain. Their competitor gave us a quote, a delivery time of the 3rd quarter in 2026, their truck. Problem is, of course, steel is hard to come by, any metals is hard to come by,
mhm,
and of course, the legacy chips are a big issue. The second is for the purchase of relays for replace at St. Lawrence 2. We found during our testing and inspection last year, they're at the end of their life cycle. This is to buy the relays to replace them, and then there will be, once we'll have an installation contract to have a company come in to install them and commission them for operation.
okay,
And the last one is for materials that we need for building the distribution power line up Reeves Lane. The bid was miscellaneous material bid. There was 7 line items. And the way we do it is each line item is like a separate bid. So if somebody's high in one item, low in the next, we take all the lower bids. In this case, one company, they had all the big items and they were the lowest of them. The other company had all the less expensive items, and they were low on them. So that's why there's a discrepancy. Basically, it's wire and stuff that brought that cost along. Wire is very expensive these days, and the delivery time is a little over 52 weeks.
52 weeks delivery.
So yeah, we won't see it till next spring, hopefully.
So it says to construct a distribution power line. So what does that mean exactly?
We're constructing a line up Ruger to bring power into Reeves Lane.
Okay,
And those are the materials that we need to get up there.
once that's done, then what? What can happen next?
At Reeves Lane?
Yeah, I mean, what,
Well, we're still in the process of doing a wetland study. Until that comes back, we have no real clear guideline on where we can or what we can develop on that property. Once we do have that outline, then it's a little bit more clear about what we can accomplish up there. We know that there is some developable property up there right now, in the front half of it, that is not covered in wetlands. But we're still waiting on this study, this wetland study, before we can make any sound planning or determination on how to develop that property.
how much of that property is wetland?
Again, that's what the study.
Oh, okay, you don't know. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs, yes. Director Talon?
Yes.
Director Bop?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes,
Director Rosenquist. Okay. Item number 5, bid request. Can I get a motion and a second to
Second.
discuss 5A, B, and C? Director Canales, seconded by Director Rosenquist. So item 5A,
5A is to replace substation battery banks at St. Lawrence 2 and St. Lawrence 1. Again, we found during the testing last year, they were still functional, but the recommendation was to replace it. There's 24 lead acid batteries at St. Lawrence 2, there's 48 at St. Lawrence 1. If we lose the station power at the control building, these batteries power the relays and everything inside that building to keep those online. So it's important that we keep them up. Stuff.
Okay.
The second low one is bids on, we're getting low on some transformers, so we're looking at pole top and some hand mounted transformers we ordered. We've already been advised delivery time will be 3+ years on these. Again, because
3
of the
years.
met-
3 years.
because of the metals. And all of these, for the most part, will have escalation clauses. So
What does that mean?
that means the price that they quoted us today may not be the price when the item shows up a year, 3 years from now. If it's higher, we're gonna be sent a bill to pay for the delivery.
And if it's lower, they give us some money back, right?
Yes, but I've rarely seen that. One time we did have this problem back in 2008, 2009, with one of the substations, and we had to pay an extra $30,000 because the metals cost had gone up.
What kind of metals are in that?
Well, any metals today, steel, copper, aluminum, the prices are just off the chart.
Mhm.
Between inflation and shipping costs, and the cost is just rising all over the place.
Mhm.
And in many cases, you can't even get the raw materials. It's difficult. Plus, then a lot of this stuff is made in Mexico or in Asia. And of course, COVID's been opening and closing facilities left, right, and center. So
Mhm. Mhm.
they're still working back orders from before COVID started in 2020. So I don't see it being resolved anytime soon. I hope it is, but I don't see it, unfortunately. The last item is a substation transformer oil treatments for the big transformers in 11 of our substations. We just got the test results back on the oil, and the recommendation was to treat the oil, which would bring a company in, and they takes them usually 24 hours per transformer. They filter the oil, remove the impurities, remove the water out of it, remove any gases that are in the oil, and it's like new oil going back into the transformer, which helps extend the life of the transformer. So we have 11 that we are looking at getting done under this contract.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs is yes. Director Talon?
Yes.
Director Bott?
yes,
Director Moore?
yes,
Director Rosenquist?
Yes.
Okay, adopted. Item 6 is monthly write-offs. Can I get a motion and a second for 6A, B, C, D? Director Canales, and second by Director Rosenquist. Okay. Mr. Tracy, anything you want to tell us about the monthly write-offs?
This is the normal rate, monthly write-offs, we're required to do it by the Public Service Commission.
Mhm.
What I should say also is the bills do still stay on our books. So if the person does come back at a later time, they will get the pleasure of paying their bill.
They're found. Does that happen very often?
Sometimes it does. We have people that tend to run up the bill in the city of Plattsburgh, and then they move out into NYSEG country, do the same thing there. The NYSEG starts coming after them there.
They
They
come
try
back.
to move back in.
Mhm.
And they usually get, that's when they get caught by finance, when they try to set up another electric account. And then some of them, we do take to court, we get judgments against them. The judgment in itself doesn't necessarily mean payment, but if the person somewhere down the line, if the judge reaches a judgment, they notify the credit bureaus. So if somebody decides to try to buy a house, a car, or get a credit card, when they go run their credit report, it'll show up there that they defaulted on the electric bill. And in order to get the credit report, they're gonna have to come back in and pay for that at that time. And I've seen cases where it's up to 10 years later, they gotta come up and interest gets added on at 9% a year. State owned places. So it's a lot more expensive. They get upset. They're like, should have paid the bill and they left. Unfortunately, they decided not to.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs is yes. Director Talon? Yes. Director Bob?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Rosenquist?
Who's the first and second?
Director Canales and seconded by Director Rosenquist. Item number 7, authorize memorandum of agreement with specific MLD employees to restore service credit earned when laid off. Can I get a motion and a second? Motion by Director Rosenquist and seconded by Director Canales. There's no discussion, so roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs is yes. Director Talon? Yes. Director Bob?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Rosenquist?
Yes.
Yes. Item number 8, City and IBEW 1249, new 5-year labor contract review and vote. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And Director Bob? Any discussion on this item? Okay, roll call. Director Canales?
Yes.
Director Gibbs is yes. Director Talon?
Yes.
Director Bob?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Rosenquist?
Yes.
Okay, item 9, greenhouse gas emissions from the city vehicle fleet and equipment. So this is basically like a report out from you, yes?
Yes, this
Okay.
is required under the EE policies that you voted on 4 months ago.
So, this is 2021. How are we looking in terms of context, in comparison to where we?
Well, in your package, there was a chart. Plus, it showed the data from the baseline year, which was last year.
Did we get
This-
that?
Yes,
It's in the.
Yeah, you get like a 30-page
Supplemental.
document that,
I missed that completely. I'm so sorry. I clicked on the
But
documents. I thought,
It's on the.
it is a
Oh.
bit higher,
sorry.
and probably the reason for that is 2020 was, of course, a pandemic year, so.
Lower emissions is what you're saying?
Yeah, many departments. MLD, we continued full-fledged work because we were required to keep the electricity on, but other departments cut back. So it is a little bit higher for 2021.
Okay.
And of course, we haven't bought a whole lot of EVs at this point. As far as I know, there's only one department that's gotten one here recently. I tried to order back in April, and I got laughed off the internet.
Got laughed off.
Well, the problem was, the order banks had closed. When I was ordering after the meeting, the order banks had closed the 1st of April, and I was ordering on the 1st of April. So there was nothing there. And then I asked them about the regular F-150, the pickup truck we were looking for. And they said, well, the order banks for those closed on 17 December 2021. So they only opened 5 weeks earlier. Yeah, they only made 1,000, a couple thousand of them, because that's all the parts they had. So I couldn't get anything ordered in March or April, but I've been told the model year 2023 is going to open on 18 July this next month. So I'm waiting for the specs to come out. It's supposed to come out just prior to that, and I will put a bid in for 2 vehicles. Cross my fingers that I hope I get it. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
But again, they're having the same problems, steel shortages, legacy chips, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
So they only build a handful of vehicles.
So along the same lines of the conversation of the EV policy and in the work that Jennifer and I have been doing with the Climate Smart Committee, we have two direct contacts with these programs. One is Nancy Bernstein, who is more the CEC, and Erin Griffin is our direct liaison here in the North Country for the Climate Smart work. She's CSC. And both of them have been assisting us, and most specifically Rochelle, because she's basically our chair of this whole programming. And their recommendation is exactly what Nancy Bernstein's original recommendation was on the policy, that there needs to be more immediate targets, like dates of when we want to hit these particular targets. Which is what Nancy had originally suggested, and we don't have actual dates in there, like specific targets. We have
2030.
Yeah,
It wouldn't make any sense at this point because a lot of the EV stuff you can't get. It's
I know.
very difficult.
I know. So I'm sharing that with this
Yeah.
with this group so that you'll all understand that it, based on their recommendations, it might not be something we get credit for with all the work we're doing without that included. And I just wanted this body
The
to
dates
know.
specifically included, or are they
Yeah.
those milestones? Just the dates.
It seemed, this is the language from our last meeting. Jennifer, I don't know if you, I mean, I took the notes, I don't know if you remember it differently, but this was the language, need more immediate targets, like something more specific, which is,
So that sounds like dates being met, not
Yes.
only
Yeah,
Yes.
but
I think
actually
you're gonna
met,
have,
because
right
of today's
now, the
market, you
climate,
can't
the
do
way
that.
things are, I think it's gonna be next to impossible.
Absolutely.
So
Because probably 3-4 years from now, maybe, but right now, until they resolve this issue with the vehicles and stuff, you're either gonna pay a fortune for it,
Mhm.
or you're not gonna get it, because they're only making a few. I mean, I
So-
saw an article last week, the CEO of Hummer was bragging that his company built 77 Hummers this year that were all EV. The problem was, the author of the article said, there's a problem with that. He had 78,000 reservations for Hummers, so he only built 77. At that rate, it's gonna take him like 60-70 years to meet the need.
so I'll report that back to the group when we have our next meeting.
I mean, you can set dates, but if you keep busting them, what are you proving?
Correct.
Mhm.
That's
No,
the problem.
I get it. I just wanted to,
We
Follow
had,
through on what I said.
2 dates set in their target dates,
Mhm.
2030 and 2050, which is what the state has set.
okay. Okay, I'll report that back.
2030 might be doable. It's all just gonna depend how the supply chain issue gets ironed out. I don't know.
The world leader right now, Tesla, they have a 3-year backlog of the cyber trucks, and they're starting production in October of this year.
Well, it's
So,
like
I
a
mean,
bolt, the bolt didn't come online till end of April, beginning of May.
Mhm.
They're only gonna do it for a couple of months, then
Yeah.
shut it down.
Yeah.
Again, the problem
Material.
is materials, they don't have,
Mhm.
Chips and lithium.
the chips are the big one, but steel and wiring harnesses, you just go down the list, is a problem. Because a lot of parts that are in the auto industry for cars and trucks are made by one company worldwide. Some cases it's two, but most of the time it's one. And if they're backlogged, there's nothing you can do about it. Plus, with China keep constantly shutting things down here with COVID, it creates more problems. I don't know what the answer is on that.
Okay, I'll make sure to report all that back. I just wanted.
Well, I talked to Nancy about it, and she's heard the same complaint from other locations. So,
Got it.
All on the same
Okay.
topic.
So, but like I said, I wanted to make sure that I followed up on that with you and made this governing body aware of it so that I can report that back to the Climate Smart Committee and make Erin Griffin and Nancy Bernstein aware of it. Okay. So item number 10 is a change of date for the next MLD board meeting. Pretty self-explanatory. And that doesn't conflict with anything that week, right? Do we even have any meetings?
you have nothing that week. I checked it with Beth.
I think you have public safety that week, that Monday, probably. Okay.
We can move it to Tuesday.
You're clear on it.
22nd is.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Item 11, executive session. I would like to call for an executive session to discuss confidential matters that may have potential for litigation. Can I get a first on that?
Motion.
Director
Second.
Canales, Director Rosenquist. Caitlin, I'm going to call you. Make sure you mute your computer.
Yeah, I got the phone ready and I'll have everything muted.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we were going to enter to, oh, I didn't get an all in favor. I'm sorry, all in favor.
Aye.
All right, sorry.
Aye. Oh.
Okay, we're in executive session.
Oh, where are we going first?
Oh,
Oh, I can't, I can't escape. Okay.
No, I've got some new business. I'm gonna bring it up. Sorry.
Can I get a motion and a second to exit executive session and return to our meeting? Councilor Canales and Councilor Bott. No action was taken from executive session to, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Is there any old business to come before this board? I have a few things under new business that aren't electrical related, but they are new business for the agenda. And they have to do with some composting things. And then I also have an electric question for you. So I'll start with that. About, as part of this, the CSC work that Jennifer and I are doing, we're getting some emails back and forth. Rochelle Armstrong is coordinating with Aaron Griffin and Nancy Bernstein on some crosswalk work. So some things that are clean energy community and climate smart community where they come together. And one of the questions that came up is, does the city have a demand response as part of, I don't think we do, as part of our electrical usage, encouraging participation to reduce peak electric demand? I think NICEAG does something similar to that.
There is a demand response program that many companies have signed up for, that when the summer gets real hot and the New York ISO calls for reduction in power, they go offline and they trade the power that they would have used from us. They sell it back to the New York ISO for whatever, to a third party company. They get money for that. That's the only thing that we have.
Do you think that, I mean, I can do a little more research, or I can send you a link. Do you want me to send you a link?
But the problem is, it wouldn't work for us because we don't get our power that way.
Okay, so it won't work for us because we're a municipality.
No, it actually would hurt us.
Oh,
Because
okay.
if we started reducing the uses of hydropower, then the New York Power will start reducing our allotment.
Aha, okay, all right. Let me write that down.
Projects like that really work for the investor-owned utilities because they get power from fossil fuel plants and so forth.
Okay, like a coal burning plant or something like that.
There's no coal burning
No.
plants in the state of New York anymore.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Okay, so I had just a couple of things. Mayor, I have reached out to you about putting together with something, Jennifer Perry's organization about composting. She's going to do the whole shebang. She's going to have people and bins and whatever, but I just want to make sure that we're coordinating that with your office appropriately.
I responded back to your email. I think you may have seen that. Absolutely. I think it's something that we can do for the events and put people in specific places, especially like food trucks that we have. And so I don't know when y'all want to start. If you guys wanted to start 4th of July, Trinity Park, I think that would be the best place to
I think
start.
she's looking, I think, to start or to do this Mayor's Cup.
Okay, Mayor's Cup, I'd probably say put people down at the beach where a lot of those festivities are going to be centralized.
She doesn't, Jennifer, tell me if I'm wrong, because this was part of the conversation from our last meeting, but I don't think she wants to do it at, is the whole Mayor's Cup at the beach?
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
So she can hang out downtown, but they might be by themselves.
So does she need any kind of coordination with your office? Does she have permission to go ahead and take care of that? Like,
Yeah,
how
I
do you
think
want?
that's fine. What I'll do is I'll work with Courtney and the Mayor's Cup folks and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. We'll loop, I think she was on that email.
She is,
So I'll
yes.
loop her into that.
That would be great.
Into the conversation. And then we'll just get set up at the beach for that event.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And the other thing is, you must know Dr. Susan Levesque from City School District.
Yes.
And she's also part of our committee.
Yes.
She would really like to coordinate with some folks and do a presentation to our council next week. Is that something that
For what? For
she
what?
did talk about composting and some other things that she's very excited about trying to get us, get the composting up and running in the city. And she wanted to know if council would like to have a presentation from, and so I think this would also be coordinated with Jennifer
Yeah.
Perry.
I'd like to understand a little bit better, like what level of composting she's talking about, because the city
All
doesn't
kinds
have
of things.
composting capacity, and we will not have composting capacity until we can process that composting in some way.
So that's where Jennifer Perry comes in, because she has her own composting facility. And so this is part of one of the little subcommittees that we're working on in this CSC action, is to pick some actions that we're interested in, and I'm interested in the composting
Sure.
component. And I think that would be part of the presentation to explain to council what could be offered, what would it look like, what could be done, just as an informational component for council.
Yeah.
And I told Sue that I would coordinate, or that I would bring it to council, but because that's next week.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in.
I
I'd
thought,
like to see it. Yeah.
so is that something that can be done during public comment, or is that something that, how would we coordinate that? So,
Public forum.
well, public comments beginning of the meeting, so,
Would it be better at a committee? That's my tendency is to push all of those things to committee and not put it into the regular meeting.
the only thing I don't like about that, and I'm only going to speak on my own
Yeah.
behalf here, is committees are not the whole council, and typically are not viewed by everyone. Like council meetings tend to be where most people are paying attention. They're coming in on live stream. Committees don't tend to attract that much attention.
Okay.
And they're also not where all councilors show up. And I really like an opportunity for the whole council to have a presentation. 5 minutes,
Yeah,
with a
right.
brief overview of what could be done, and
Yes, I don't see a problem with it. Again, I think I have to balance this position of, I'll tell you straight up, when I was on the county, I was like, hey, Casella, when are you gonna provide composting? Household composting, when? When I lived in Seattle, that's all we did. Minneapolis, all you did was household compost. And what we're seeing in New York State, as you probably have been following this as well, is that New York State saying food scraps, paper waste out of the compost, out of the landfill, get it out of the landfill, get it into another facility, or some way to properly process food scraps and compost. I have no problem with having it at a council meeting. I just want to be clear that the city, until it's very crystal clear about what the city's responsibility is going to be, we cannot just say, yeah, all in favor, yes.
oh, no, it's not
dive
going to be
into
something like that, right? It's not a presentation that everybody in the council has to vote on. This is simply informational of what are some options, what are some things that could be done. Jennifer Perry has capacity to be the leader on this, because she has a piece of property where she's doing all of this
Yeah.
already.
They've all been.
Yeah, and
I will say that the city is engaged right now in exploring what our long-term organics management strategy should be.
Mhm.
Now, if we had one in place, not only are we looking at processing our own organics that we produce in the city of Plattsburgh, but also regional organics as well, which this dovetails perfectly into, right? So I think it's worth more than happy to have that conversation and having it fit into the longer term strategy for what the city is going to be with organics.
would you like to come to our next Climate Smart meeting? And I mean, we're having this ongoing conversation as
When
part
is
of.
it happening?
Oh,
I thought it was supposed to happen today, but it got canceled. and moved.
no, so it's, I didn't bring my notes. Yes, I did bring my notes. I lied. I can tell you right now. It's going to be the third Wednesday of every month at 5 at the public library, second floor.
Okay,
So that's our
the-
time, day,
And
location.
you had it already this last week.
Yep. Yeah, it was supposed to be here, but there was too much conflict, so we had it at the county building. But we've got date, time, and location set from now on. If you want to come to listen to our conversation about composting, I'm very,
And sorry, sorry to interrupt. Rochelle also meets with me to update my office on what's happening, and
Mhm.
what's needed, and what that kind of, excuse me, that balance between what you guys are needing and what the city can provide as well. So happy to come and listen. see
Okay.
where we get.
so can I reach out to
Yeah.
our partners and let them know that if they would like to put together a small 5-minute presentation for council next week?
Yeah, perfect. Then what we'll do is we'll put it under, there's a special committee section
Okay,
and a special committee reports,
Okay.
and we can go into that section.
that would be great. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah,
put that
we'll
down.
figure
That,
out a good time.
And going off of that, Counselor Bob and I actually picked up some of those buckets at the farmer's market, so we're.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Elizabeth, I did have something to add as well that ties into all of this. Patty Blanchard reached out to me and I had seen some buzz on Facebook about this. Some people talking about, one of the ongoing things we always talk about is some of the spaces that we could beautify in Plattsburgh. And one of the ideas that had been recommended, and like I said, Patty reached out about, was the idea of using wildflowers, the kinds of things that would be helpful for pollinators, but also wouldn't really need maintenance by DPW because they're meant to grow, wildly and still produce that. So it was just something she had mentioned. She said that she'd be willing to head some type of volunteer organization if that was something that we could define and put together. And, I thought it tied right into this climate stuff, just the way we had the No Mow May, all those other things we're trying to do to promote climate friendly action.
I agree. And when Rochelle was on council years ago, under Mayor Reed, that is one of the things she tried to bring before Public Works and the council. She brought tons of ideas on like how to turn parts of your lawn into wildflower gardens.
Yeah.
That's been an ongoing conversation in the city for as long as I've been on council.
Mhm.
It's just really difficult to implement like as a citywide thing because it
Right.
becomes then a Public Works maintenance issue. But nothing is prohibiting, homeowners or, people who own their rental properties from turning sections of their property into wildflower gardens. But I think where it gets very difficult for us as a city, and Mayor, you can tell me if you disagree, is when we say, oh, we want wildflower gardens in our public parks and then maintained by Public Works. I love that idea, but who's going to do it? And that's always been our problem. So we'll keep that up. We'll definitely keep that in mind as something we can work towards. What we've done on the Climate Smart Committee so far is we're trying to prioritize our work so that we can load a bunch of things into the portal in January and get us actually classified as a climate smart community and start getting points and then start applying for grants and things like that. Composting is something I'm super passionate about and have been, which is why I'm really focusing my energies on that. Councilor Talon has something that she's going to be working on because she's passionate about it. And then we have another group that we've got to get our greenhouse gas inventory thing done. I mean, they're just like certain sections.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm not turning you down. I'm just telling you this is something we've been bringing up, and I'm hoping that is something that we can do at some point.
Yeah, and I understand the maintenance issue. That was kind of one of the things I said. And like I said, she was interested in possibly creating some volunteer type of organization. Mayor, I know you and I have kind of talked about the idea of having a functional volunteer group organization, but also one that can be sustained. So I know there's a lot of moving parts to it. I will suggest that if she wants to be a part of this ongoing conversation, that, I'll let her know about the time and dates of those meetings. So
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
she can participate that way and maybe find other things. And also, I think realistically, it's not like it's something that, again, it's one of those things that seems easy to implement, but of course, there's more complications to it than would be immediately apparent. So even if we were to look at it, it would certainly not necessarily be for this year, but maybe going forward. So I appreciate it being just something that's on the mind. I know we have higher priorities with regards to the climate stuff right now. So maybe after we tackle those, we can look at this down the road.
Some cities turn the section between their sidewalk and the street, that part that we all, we maintain, but we know doesn't legally belong to us. A lot of cities just turn that into wildflower gardens.
Right. And she sent pictures like that. Like Patty had a bunch of examples. So, like I said, I'll kind of let her know that about this ongoing conversation that we discussed it and give her the idea of where she could go to kind of continue to foster that idea. So,
Okay,
I think
thanks.
that if I could belabor it just for another 2 minutes, I think that's a great idea. I will say what you just pointed to is great idea of who's going to maintain it.
Yeah.
I don't mind, and I really appreciate the idea of a volunteer group doing it, but then there's also the conversation for volunteers come and go, and we love them, and we have to figure out where the sustainability of that volunteer effort is. And we're seeing more volunteer groups pop up. Not only that, but then I'll hear about constituent complaints about mow that darn grass down. And then you go and look at it, you're like, okay, well, it could be cleaned up a little bit, but a lot of it is wildflower. A lot of it's blooming wild grasses or something like that, which it doesn't look bad if it's trimmed and cleaned up a little bit, right? Now, I will say that, and I don't fault them for this, DPW gets out and cleans it up with weed whacker. Okay, probably not the best way to approach if we're gonna have a wildflower policy. But that's the tool that they use, and that's the most effective tool that they have. But if it's managed by a volunteer group who is just saying like adopting a parking lot and the medians in the parking lot, then it's a lot easier for the volunteers to be out there once every other week, cleaning up seed trees and things that shouldn't be in there. But I like the idea. I think it's a nice and easy way to beautify our downtown and our public spaces.
So going off of that volunteer group idea, I think you know from social media that there are people that want to volunteer to help, do that kind of work downtown. I am wondering what's the city's official rules on that? Like, is it something that, it's like an insurance issue, or can people just go ahead and do it?
I don't, there's no formal program for volunteer program in the city, not for that specific thing. There have been people that have gone out every Sunday and still do go out every Sunday to do a cleanup effort downtown.
Okay.
They're not on their hands and knees picking out weeds anymore, but they still are downtown picking stuff up and picking garbage up and doing like small beautification efforts. We don't say, hey, where's your insurance? If it's a volunteer group, maybe, I don't know, maybe we should find something a little bit more formal so that people aren't out there. They say, well, I was cleaning up something and I tripped and got hit by a car or something like that. Then it's like, well, city's not on the hook for something, which we shouldn't be, but
people can go ahead and.
we don't stop them and we don't say, don't do it, if there's a-
Okay, so this is important for people to know
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
just,
And like I said, there's a gentleman right now that is in regular contact with me about the efforts that he does every Sunday downtown to go around and just pick up random garbage. So, but again, there's nothing formal. So if we are, I 100% agree, if we're gonna do something like that, it's gotta be sustainable. We gotta figure out, like you said, who's gonna do the work, right? Because then if nobody's out there doing the work, it definitely falls back on the city, and what the work that we do is we
I think people just aren't aware if they can do it or not, because I think people are interested in doing it.
appreciate the conversation, Council.
Any other new business? Any persons addressing the board? No one here. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Director Canales, second by Director Rosenquist. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 6:20.